Hi, this is Cory, and here's part 2 of the real-world Navisworks video. So let us continue. In part 1, went through some discussion about, well, what's the point of all this, appending our DWGs and talking through that file process, importing search sets, and how we can utilize those for effective model navigation when we have multiple complicated models. So what I'm not going to do is jump back into that model and talk about multi-clash selection. And that's different than what I've done in the previous discussion on clash detection, which is one thing versus another thing. It's like 4 things versus the same 4 things over on this side. And then we use rules to identify where the things that we don't want to have clashing. So then we're going to get into some real-world grouping and making selection sets of those for visualization purposes. So some fun stuff. Alright, so hopping back in, I'm going to close down the Find Items tab because that's not going to be important for us anymore. And I'm also going to hide architectural and structural. Actually, I'm going to hide... yeah, I'll hide them both. Alright, lovely, lovely. So, in Clash Detective, here we are, and of course it's a little bit slow on the screen resolution here, on the screen refresh, I'm sorry. Currently no clash test defined, so we need to add a test, and I'm going to call this the demo MEP versus structure. Yeah, I can't spell, that's fine. So if I had structure versus all my MEP on this side, and I was then going to run this test, it's going to come back with 0 clashes. Reason that is because I had the structural clash hidden. Alright, so back in this, now with this thing hidden, I can say run this again, and I actually get all my clashes. Dim other on my isolation, close that thing down. Dim other with my transparent dimming. There we go. So I'm getting all sorts of clashes going through the slab, but just want to show that if you have something hidden when you run that clash, so for instance, I've got lots of clashes running through this slab. If I was instead to hide this thing and rerun that test, I'm going to have 77 resolved clashes. What that's telling me is that 77 of those issues were going through that slab. And we have 17 active clashes. Oh, filter by selection. That's why I was not able to see everything. There we go. Okay, lovely, lovely. Looks like I've got something going through a column there. And if I hit that slab, rerun the test. That slab, rerun the test. Now I'm down to only 11 active clashes here. And those are the things that I probably care about. And I can look back through to see some of this other stuff. Okay. So I'm going to delete this test, and this is the clash that I run. I call this level 1 all MEP. What I do is on the left, I'm going to select everything. On the right, I'm going to select everything. And now, if I was to run this right here, I'd get lots and lots of clashes because everything in the fire would be clashing with the fire on this side. So, the way I handle this is with these rules on this side. So, what we can do is ignore clashes between the same file. And this works. This would definitely work. But in this instance, I want to ignore anything that is between both Don Burden over here for mechanical and plumbing. So what I do is make these new rules, and I say ignore clashes between, and then we check the boxes for the ones that we want. So I say items which are both in the specified selection set, and you can actually do search set as well. So I can say Don Burden at this point. So I have this one, and then I can also ignore between the same file. In this case, what I'm going to be able to do is run this clash, and what it's going to do is clash between each one of these, but ignore the clashes between themselves. So when I hit run test, I now have 120 items. I'm going to turn off my structure, and now I can see all the clashes on the floor between all the different systems that are running up against. Alright, so, and then we can also use an appearance profiler to help us understand what it is that we're looking at a little bit better. Okay, and this is, I'm doing this live, so I don't exactly know what I'm looking at even. Right, but we can start to identify these things as what are my actual issues. And at this point, what I'll do is, this is really how we handle this in the meeting, is as we go through these issues, the guys understand what it is that they're looking at, and by and large, they're making corrections right there on the fly. Okay. So, by and large, the first thing that I do once I come back with one of these clash results is I like to make a selection set for all of the actual clashing items. The way I do that, I actually hit end, or control end on my keyboard, go down to the end of that list, I grab the slider, bring it back up to the top, I hold shift, then I right click and say group. And there's only one reason I'm doing that. That's so I can grab this thing and say hide other. I know, it's crazy. And then I make sure that I hit escape and have 0 items selected. Then what I do, I zoom out, I drag a box around everything, I have 165 items selected, and then I'm going to save the selection as all clashes. Level 1 all MEP clashes, and then I put in my date. Oh, it's actually 2013. Goodness. All them 2s in that date, I got confused. So, what I'll do is grab that, say this is level 1 all MEP clashes, then I'll come up here, say invert that selection, add this as other. Excuse me. Okay, so that grouping was really just to get that thing isolated. And then I'll usually explode this group. And now what I can do is come up here, and if I went to my select tab, you see this is actually how it looks anytime outside of that results tab. It's all nice and clear here when I'm in the results tab, but switching back to the select, it's like, where is everything? This is what most people get to see if they don't have Navisworks Manage. So, what I like to do is make a Coloration Viewpoints. So within Navisworks, we can go up to our application button, go to options, and we can set our Viewpoint Defaults. Now, Viewpoint Defaults is save hide required and override material. Right now I have this checked. What that's going to do is when I save a viewpoint and I have changed the color of an object, that is going to stay per that viewpoint. Alright, so I'm actually going to go back and run a quick appearance profiler on this thing to get my trade colors. I'm not going to do that. The first thing I'm going to do is click my camera button here, and I'm going to call this Trade Layer Colors. So this is all of their default, whatever the heck they gave me, this is the colors that we're going to do. If I wanted to do my appearance profiler now, the appearance profiler tool joined the Navisworks toolbox in 2012. We hit load because I've already made these things, and you save these out as a DAT file. You can have a different appearance profiler for different uses. So how this works is that I do these by set. Yes, excellent, excellent. So what this is saying is that anything that is of this fire protection set is going to be this light red color. Mechanical is going to be light blue, plumbing, and see how it's corresponding over here, electrical, and insulation. And it actually has an order of precedence as it goes down the list. We have, so it's going to look for everything fire protection first and then color it down. Now, this insulation is part of the mechanical and plumbing models, part of that same selection set. But what it's going to do is find all the mechanical, color it this light blue, and then it's going to go back and look for insulation and color that light transparent or transparent white. So once I have this, I hit run, and it goes through and automatically changes everything for us. If I wanted to save this out as a new, so maybe instead of making plumbing that blue color, I wanted to make it orange. I could say update that, and that's going to change. And I also want to make this mechanical 20% transparent. If I hit update, I could save this thing out as trade colors V2. I wanted to run it like this. Now all of a sudden, yes indeed, we can see that our ductwork is a transparent color. So we're just going to leave it like this. Now if I save this viewpoint, trade colors. Okay, so then I save some additional viewpoints to illustrate where our clashes were. So the first one I'll do is I'll reselect this selection filter. I'll go up to my item tools, and I'm going to say make all of these pink. And then I can come up here and say Alt 1, pink clashes. Then I grab my other. I can make that a transparent gray. I think this, yeah, that's all transparent gray. Pink clashes, got gray other. And for my coloration viewpoints, what I'll say is 2012. Man, it's not 2012 for crying out loud. And now as I select through, trade colors, pink clashes, I could do trade colors and grayed out other. We see, so now I can grab these things up in here. And these are my coloration viewpoints. Trade layer colors, pink clashes, gray other, trade colors, and pink clashes, gray other. So sometimes this can be nice just to give out to the folks in the room and say, okay, you see all the issues, go fix where all the issues are. And I like to make the ductwork semi-transparent so I can see that better. And here also like making insulation transparent. This way we can actually see how far into the duct we're hitting. Now, when I'm looking at this main, actually we're going to take the duct, and if I wanted to select both the duct and the fitting, or the insulation and the fitting, what I'll do first is I'm going to do gray other. That's what I want to do. So here I can see that. So if I want to move both this pipe and the insulation, what I can do to select both of them is grab the first one, hit Control H, and then hold Control again, and now I have both of these items selected. If I hit Control H once, they're both hidden. Control H again, they are unhidden. What I can do is go to my item tools and go to move, and you notice I have this on my quick access toolbar, that I can move it to the west. I go to my transform settings and said, hey, I move that by 3 inches. So if I move that by 3 inches, we're going to be good in the right spot. And then if the detailer is working right in his model, he knows that he can just move that right away immediately. At the end, we go back to reset transform. We're all good to go. We're back off down the road. Again, you notice me just like zooming out crazy there? Control Z, your best friend. You'll be able to go right back to where you are in the model. Look at me, I'm doing it all over the place. Excellent, excellent. Let's check back in here. So that was moving to measure. Did some appearance profiler, grouping clashes and making the selection sets. Yeah, so what I'll do is add a folder over here, 2013.02.22. Put these guys in here, then move that folder up into there. And yeah, we'll call it B1.L1. So that's where I can just isolate all of those issues. All right, it's a way that we can do a quick visualization on everything. And if at any time I wanted to get back to my appearance profiler, I can go to appearance profiler and say run. Everything's right back to normal again. If I forgot to do the save viewpoints, then lots of tools at our disposal. Okay, so draw this thing to a close really quick here. Probably about 4 more minutes. So once I have these coloration viewpoints set, or I can do this actually before as well, as I'm saving the camera viewpoints, what I will do is turn off this override material and the save hide required. Because what that's going to allow me to do is come in here and I can visualize, I think that's the word that we're talking about. I can visualize this clash. And I can say, nope, that's not what I wanted. I want to make a new folder. So I got camera views. So here I can hit Alt-1. Could name it the clash if we wanted to. If we wanted to make some markups. Another one right here. Alt-1. Turn off that gizmo. Alt-3, enter. And just kind of work my way through this building, line by line. And so here it's kind of it's a hybrid methodology that I'm not going through and grouping everything necessarily, but it is helping me put some structure to this thing. Move all this stuff. Okay. So at this point, what I can do is, in this viewpoint, it's setting the camera view, but if I was to right click on this thing and say edit, notice that these boxes are not checked for hide required and override material. Whereas in the trade colors, these boxes are checked. That means that for that particular trade colors viewpoint, every time I click on it, it's going to be the same trade colors, the same coloration scheme that I had when I made the viewpoint. So back to trade colors here, and then if I clicked on 003, it goes in. Now if I had pink clashes, 003, it's going to look different again. Pink clashes with gray other, there we go. Just general, the original stuff, a little bit more difficult, but you can get the idea that now I can hop through these clashes, seeing them in the native format, or simply pink clashes, just like that. So that's a big way of how I communicate this out to the various people on the project staff. And then what I'll do is just change the name of this viewpoint to fire protection, or who's the one that's supposed to be moving, so that they know which viewpoint is representative of their particular issue. So then at the end of the day, they go back and click through each of these issues, find their own. They can use the switchback tool and their native authoring tool if they know how to do that. And then the following week, this camera view gets saved, and we go right back to this location to understand what it is that we're looking at. If at any time the contractor wants to turn back on the architectural model, you can do that. Now that was a little bit more crazy. For this demo, I did not go into that. It can get pretty hairy pretty quickly. So I hope this does help. Turn off architecture again. And if you do have questions, I'm going to go back to these notes and probably make a part 3 here. Happy clashing and good luck using Navisworks as a communication tool. Thanks.